I also saw on Reddit a very uncomfortable image just this last week of someone who had a cage designed like there is a particular chastity cage called a Holy Trainer. You can look it up if you want to, and it's been copied a lot of times with varying degrees of success and varying degrees of quality control, as you can imagine. And someone had had an accident with one of those where the head of his penis had popped through the slit
No.
and
Oh, God.
swollen,
no.
and he had to go. Obviously, he had to make a very embarrassing visit to the emergency room to have it like cut off his penis.
I tripped and fell on this aubergine.
Yeah.
Welcome into this episode of That's Podcast. I'm your host, Atramentum _X, Rise streamer and LootTuber. This is episode 40, Locktober, Chastity, Denial, and its Enjoyers. Locktober is a play, as you can guess, on October, which it is right now. Today is October 11th. So Mystiq and I had the idea to sort of like talk about Locktober, and I think most of our target audience does not know much about it. So this is going to be a stream to sort of enlighten folks about the practice of Locktober. With me, as always, is my co-host, Lady Mystiq. Mystiq, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hey everyone, I'm Lady Mystiq, aka that pink bint is still here. I have a background in sexology, one of the reasons Atra keeps me around. I am in a 24/7 power dynamic exchange with It's Me Fuzzy, who I've been married to for 1.5 decades. I nearly said 1.5 years.
Yeah, I felt like that. I was like, oh, she's going to say years.
I was. And it's great to meet you. Hello.
Thank you, as always, Mystiq, for joining us on as co-host of this podcast. We're going to take a minute to introduce our panel. We're going to go from starting with Furi directly next to me all the way down to Fuzzy. Noting that is our first international panel, entirely international panel here on the Depths. Johnny Jellyjaw was slated to join us tonight, but Johnny's got a stomach bug. So unfortunately, Johnny won't be here, but his spirit will be here. And we got some testimonials from him too, because he's very passionate about this topic. All right, Furi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience here?
Hello everyone, I'm Furi. I'm a software developer. I make game mods that connect to Bluetooth sex toys, show collars, VTuber software, and other stuff. I'm kind of a DJ, so very kinky stuff.
Butt plug, say
Of
butt
course,
plug.
just butt plugs. Stay the line, boss. Butt plug. Yep. I'm Brazilian, so my English is not the best.
You're doing fantastic. And Furi has recently debuted as a VTuber himself a couple of days ago.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a chance to watch him code a mod for Vampire Survivors, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Furi. I've used Furi's work for a lot of my own content, so it's going to be a joy to have him on and speak about some of his passions as well. Next up, joining us from the UK is Amber Gray.
Hi, I'm Amber. I am obviously a VTuber as well. I do variety stuff, but I also do spicy audio content. I have 15 plus years professionally in the BDSM community in England. Used to be a house bunny and did like scenes and tutorials and teachings like up and down the country.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, thank you. And now I'm here. Hi.
It's always lovely to have folks who are up at beyond the 30 plus range, because they come in here with like, yeah, and I have 15 years of doing this thing in BDSM and that thing in kink, and it's like, holy shit. You've seen some stuff.
I'm here to represent the older lot, I guess.
As am I, and Mystiq, and, well, frankly, almost everybody here.
Yep.
And Fuzzy, he's 6 months older than me. I'm no longer the oldest person here.
I mean, last time we had Wildflower, who's actually 42.
True
that.
No, God.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely. Amber previously joined us on the Witchy episode. That was episode 16, I believe, last year,
Mhm.
October. So a year later, welcome back, Amber. Thank you for joining us
Thank
again.
you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, did you mention also your sort of experience with Chastity Play and Locktober?
So I am a key holder. So I take control of the keys and look after my puppets who are under caging and under chastity with me. And have been doing so. I'm still kind of new to it, so I've been doing so for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I hold keys for a couple people. So
Yeah.
it's nice
Folks
having.
may not know this, but Amber is nicknamed the janitor for the amount of
Yeah,
keys.
I am now.
Amazing.
Just kidding, chat. And next up, we have It's Me's Fuzzy.
Hey, yeah, so it's me, Fuzzy. I usually just go by Fuzzy, but obviously that's taken on every single platform you could possibly imagine, so the handle is It's Me Fuzzy. I am married to Mystiq. We've been in a 24/7 BDSM relationship for a hell of a long time. I don't even know how many years at this point.
Yeah, I
Probably
think
more
it's-
than half of our marriage.
Yeah, I think it was like 2015 when we went 24/7,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll go into it a bit later, but it's something that we discussed and spoke about, and now our marriage and kink are intertwined in a sort of inseparable way. Yeah, I'm not a content creator myself. I streamed for a little while at some point, but not compatible with the kind of job I have. I am, however, both Mystique's tech support and a moderator on the Yesmas Femdom Discord server. I moderate for Pocket Trash VT, who is great and has just started her journey on Fansly and is extremely hot. And I moderate for Lady Mystiq, obviously, and look after her Discord.
Thank you very much, Fuzzy. And
Also-
Trash, also a former guest of the podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, I see a comment in the chat from
I saw that too. Yeah.
somebody whose name I have difficulty pronouncing. I
Vinny
will address
Furge.
that in detail once we get rolling.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to delve right into it, actually, since we also take questions from the chat. So go ahead, chat, if you have any questions for our panel as we go along. But here's a comment from Vinny FRJ. 24/7 BDSM? That sounds honestly exhausting. No breaks in play ever?
Okay, so I'll take this. I'm sure Mystiq has some comments as well, and probably Amber, I would assume. But when you're 24/7, it's not. I mean, okay, for some people it is, but certainly for us, it's not leather and latex and
Whips and
yes,
chains all the
mistress and
time.
whips and chains and all of that all the time. It's more a case of it's a lifestyle, right? So for us, in terms of chastity play, orgasm denial, orgasm control, we call it orgasm control because it's not about saying no or even a specific timer. It's about things happen when, where, how, and with who she says. So it's all of this stuff is her decision. And, I'm sitting around in my pajamas, I'm playing video games, but if something sexual is happening, or if she wants me to do something, or any of those things, then she says, hey, can you do the thing? And I'm either going to have a really good reason why not, or I'm going to drop what I'm doing and go and take care of the situation.
So is it a bit like lifestyle free use, so to speak?
Yes. I think free use implies some different things, but it's the
Well,
same in terms
basically-
of lifestyle. Yes.
Yeah, so Fuzzy isn't available for other people to play with unless I specifically say so, and obviously he agrees and, is enthusiastic about doing so. But what it does mean is that his position as a submissive is basically all the time. That doesn't mean he's crawling around in a gimp suit and like licking the floor and stuff, but it does mean that he doesn't touch or pleasure himself at all. unless, it doesn't happen unless I say so. And if I don't say so, it doesn't happen. He doubles as my carer, and one of the things that helps him sort of cope with that is that we incorporated that into our kink life because for those of you who may not know, I am disabled. I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and a cornucopia of other stuff. Folding caring for me and helping me sort of maintain a good quality of life into service and submission has been a really good way for him to sort of cope with being my carer and my sexual partner, sort of adopting both sides of that role and still feeling sort of sexually and intimately fulfilled.
It's also sorry, I'll release you in a moment. It's also a really good way of dealing with guilt and anxiety because Mystique's condition is one that gives her severe fatigue and pain, and it can mess with your sex drive. So at one point I was finding that my sexual needs, I was feeling guilt over having those, and like I was imposing on Mystique to take care of me in that way when I wasn't sure that she wanted to, or that she was capable of it, or if she was sort of hurting herself in order to me. And in a relationship like this, where I know that she can say no at any point, I mean, obviously consent is a thing and she could always say no, but like we've explicitly agreed that saying no is fine. Saying no is in fact something I enjoy as long as you say no in a certain way. It just
And
really helps.
And also he knows that if I initiate, it's not because of like guilt or pressure from him or anything like that. It's a way to silence the brainworms. If I initiate, it's because I want it, and he doesn't have to feel sort of guilty or like catastrophize in his own head that I'm sort of doing something for his sake only, because
I see.
As he says, he lives to serve. So for a service sub like him, someone putting themselves out in a way that doesn't make them happy for his sake is a major source of anxiety for him.
I see. Well, thank you both for sharing. That's very interesting, actually. I think a lot of people in chat had the same question regarding how that sort of works as a lifestyle and how, like, because, I think the conventional understanding of kink, like, sort of, like, lends itself to, well, you go to a place like a dungeon, you put the implements on, and you do the thing. Similar to, like, sex, I guess. Whereas this is more of a lifestyle sort of situation.
Yeah.
As I understand it. Yeah.
So it's not an event, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is
now
to say
that's
that
the
there
first...
aren't scenes, but...
Now that that's the first 45 minutes down, everybody else can have a turn to talk.
Yeah, so I did have some prepared question, but I absolutely thank you for sharing that, because we don't have very many married couples on the show, and that is a key part of sex, dating, and love. It's marriage. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we're gonna go right into talking about some of the hardware that is used for chastity play. So question 1. Some implements, such as cages, can be intimidating to newcomers. By cages, by the way, I mean cock cages. What advice would you give to someone that is hesitant to try them out? So our guests can hop in at any time and just speak up.
Yeah, we're being quiet on purpose. You two go.
Okay, so, well, I'm happy to listen to you two as well. It's really interesting listening to other people's stories. But no, for me, it was just baby stepping it, basically. So starting with something small and loose so we can get used to wearing it, showing them like different types of cages so they can have a choice, and just breaking sorry, it's very early in the morning, I'm trying to think of my words, but it's just breaking the anxiety behind it, like, so making sure that they understand that you're going to look after them as much as they're going to be like looking after themselves, showing them, obviously, as I said, like the equipment, and and it's just dealing with the anxieties of any like
Reassurance
concerns.
is
Yeah, the
important, I
reassurance.
think.
That's the word I was looking for. Reassurances. But yeah, it's just it's like with anything that you're learning brand new for the first time. It's baby stepping, like taking your time with it and being patient with one another.
So do you have a selection of chastity devices that you use in your professional life?
So with me, I generally let play partners choose their own chastity, so that way they can choose which ones they're most comfortable with. I'm not the kind of keyholder where I'm going to push them to wear something they're uncomfortable with. I'm not going to push them into wearing something that I really enjoy if they don't enjoy it too. After all, like kink is a two-way street. Like you have to take in what each other is like most comfortable with, and then find a middle ground there.
I do have a statement. Actually, go ahead, Furi. I just saw you unmute.
No, I read the question in chat if cages can be used solo, and that's my case. I bought one myself and I've been using for myself without a key holder. And as far as the question about newcomers, I'd say take your time to measure your stuff to buy the correct cage. You don't want to buy one size smaller.
No.
Take your time. After you buy the cage, try. Don't go full time with it. Take your time. Go slow. Use it for a couple hours, then a couple days. Small steps.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind that you don't have to do everything everybody else does. There's a lot of elements to display. For example, you can think of the cage as penis bondage. It's just a device you use for a play for a couple of hours, and that's fine. If you have fun with that, do it. You don't need to use it for days or weeks.
That's a good point. I think often of cock rings in the same way that it's actually not recommended to wear it for like more than like 2 hours at a time for certain cases. So it really is dependent on people's comfort level with it, as well as various health and safety things. And that's why we would heavily recommend folks check out resources online, and especially resources in your area if there are like kink dungeons and like clubs in your area, because folks are very knowledgeable about that sort of thing and like getting you fitted appropriately.
And you don't necessarily even have to use a device if you find it intimidating as a newcomer. Like Fuzzy and I have a drawer full of devices that we've tried over the years, and I just hate them because I like to play. I like to sort of just tease a little bit, or sort of fiddle or stimulate him a little bit, like just as and when. And if there's a cage, I can't do that. So try, if you're really intimidated by the device, try just setting yourself goals to not touch, or like try the motions of chastity without the device, so that you'll see that it's not that scary, and the device just becomes something that you wear, but you're used to the rest of sort of the other elements of chastity play already.
On that note, it's actually worth pointing out that unless you're considering something like a very expensive custom-fitted full chastity belt, or a chastity cage that's based on a piercing or incorporates a piercing, any kind of ball trap chastity device, which is the cages that you see, basically any cage that you can buy for a reasonable amount of money, right? No matter how well fitted they are, no matter how much money you spend on them, whether you're going to mature metal, whether you're getting one of the nice 3D printed ones, they're not inescapable. The penis has no bones. It is a meat tentacle that can go all the way back up inside you. You can get out of it. If the chastity device is not what's going to stop you from masturbating or having an orgasm or any of that, it's your brain, right? The device is cool. The device looks cool. It's got that awesome BDSM aesthetic, but ultimately you're playing a game and you're saying, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to prove to myself that I'm not going to do it. I want to believe that someone else is stopping me from doing it. I don't want to disappoint my keyholder, whatever it is.
So here is a question from, thank you by the way everyone. Here's a question from chat. Actually, before I get there to XUI's question, Johnny did provide us with some testimonials as to some of the questions that we are asking. So as to Johnny's advice for getting started with cages, Johnny says this. So I'd recommend getting a cage that has multiple holes, like interlaced bars, instead of one of those solid cages with just one hole for peeing, as they're a lot more airy and a lot more comfortable, plus they're a lot easier to clean. Yeah, I
agree.
That's great advice, honestly.
Yeah, particularly if you have a foreskin.
Right.
I also saw on Reddit a very uncomfortable image just this last week of someone who had a cage designed like there is a particular chastity cage called a Holy Trainer. You can look it up if you want to, and it's been copied a lot of times with varying degrees of success and varying degrees of quality control, as you can imagine. Oof. And someone had an accident with one of those where the head of his penis had popped through the slit.
No.
And
no.
swollen, and he had to go. Obviously, he had to make a very embarrassing visit to the emergency room to have it cut off his penis.
I tripped and fell on this aubergine.
Yeah, it was not a good time for that person, and they may suffer permanent damage. So, which is to say, yeah, the bar type cages are the answer. Be careful with what you're doing as well.
Yeah, I would post the picture, chat, of what it is, but I'm afraid of Twitch, so I'm just gonna put the thing in chat, and you can just go look it up. Holy Trainer.
R.I.P. PP.
Yeah. So to XPI's question. So the question was, I was wondering, does it hurt to use the cock cage? That is, of course, the appropriate size. How would, for those of you that used a cage, how would you describe the sensation of wearing a cage?
So it kind of holds you. You're conscious of it all the time, as some people actually find it very comforting. And after they've been wearing it for a while, they actually don't like to go without it because it grips you. It not terribly tightly. It's not a cock ring in the same sense as a cock ring sex toy, which is designed to restrict blood flow and then improve your erection. It's just designed to make it more difficult to remove the thing. Again, you can squeeze through just about any of them because meat tentacle, but it surrounds you and it holds you. And yes, it can get quite painful if you have an erection while you're wearing it, which is why cage size is so important. It's actually more painful to get a cage that is too big for you in terms of the shaft, because what happens is you'll grow inside it and then you will start to lift up and it'll start to push away from your body. Whereas if the cage fits properly, you will not be able to grow, and there won't be as much leverage, so it won't yank on your balls. But if you're going to have pain, it's probably going to be overnight when you're sleeping, because you're going to get hit with the morning wood and you're going to wake up and it's going to be very uncomfortable, and you're going to have to go to the bathroom 3 times in the night because,
Okay, very interesting.
I was going to say, I don't want to cross into other questions yet, but I usually, if I get any uncomfortable feelings, I stop immediately. So I usually take it off before sleeping. I like to sleep belly down, so the cage, the important distinction, I have a flat cage, not a classic one. Also, it's my first cage ever. I just jumped to it because I'm crazy. But
yeah, I can imagine a flat cage is no fun to try and sleep in.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun if you get an erection. The pressure is there still. The penis tries to go forward, but the cage won't let it. So it can happen an erection behind the cage, behind the ring.
Oh, is
So-
that how this works?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very common to you use a strap around the cage, goes around your waist, and holds the cage up. So if you have an erection, the strap is there to hold it in place.
Mhm.
It's way comfier this way.
So why did you choose a flat cage over a conventional sort of like ringed cage, or however you want to call it, barb cage? Barb sounds wrong.
Mainly
Bobs.
because to me one of the main attractive points to a chastity cage is the aesthetics, and I really like the aesthetics of the flat cage.
Hmm.
It does look cute, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like them. And the thing with flat cages is you get these dildos that screw into the flat bit. So
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah, and
Nice.
then that enables all kinds of play, which is just the most beautiful mindfuck.
Oh, so it would be like
Also,
a strap-on for a guy, essentially.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
so-
obviously, you
Yep.
can do that with a normal cage just by wearing a strap on, but if it actually screws into the flat cage, it's even better.
yep, it's like you're using a phantom cock.
Yes.
It's not really there. It's yours, but it's not really there.
It's interesting. Very interesting.
Also,
Interesting way to like
Wheels
juxtapose,
turning.
like-
Yeah.
yeah, wheels turning,
So
exactly.
so you're fucking your partner and they're enjoying it, you know, as they usually do, but you're not getting the sensation from the thing that you are fucking them with, even though you're going through the exact same motions. It's a very strange headspace, I imagine.
I also like the fact that when the flatter the cage is, the less you see when you look down. It's
Mm.
almost like there's nothing there. I'm pretty sure there's people with gender dysphoria that are into this too.
Mm.
Yes.
For that.
I've certainly
Okay.
read a number of testimonials to that effect on Reddit. Like it's very popular in certain communities.
So would you all say that that's maybe a possible way to like introduce feminization into a kink relationship?
Yes.
Yeah. Also,
You-
just to revert back to the waist straps that Fury was talking about. One of my lot, he likes to pull them up onto his hips to look like a faux thong, which is kind of cute and adds to the feminization
Aw.
too. So I just like, oh, I just
Like a
want
whale tail.
like a little whale tail is really cute.
That's
But anyway,
amazing.
sorry for interrupting.
Oh no,
No,
that's
no.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
You
Oh.
are allowed to interrupt each other at all times. Yeah.
what I was going to say to the feminization element and to the look, there's a lot of crossover with this stuff, right? You've got people who do it because they're just cis men who are into. I mean, there are chastity belts for people with AFAB anatomy as well. That's a whole different thing, and it's a lot more complicated. But there are people who do the sissy play thing who are not trans but enjoy the idea of being forcibly feminized because it's hot, and there are trans people who like it as well. But you actually get flat cages that have molding on them in the shape that they effectively give you a camel toe.
The cleft.
Oh. The cleft, yes. The
Yep.
vaginal cleft. The moose knuckle. It's interesting too.
Isn't
'cause,
the
like,
moose
even-
knuckle guys? Like,
Yeah, the moose
when your
knuckle's the
balls are-
penis, the camel toe is the. I think.
I sometimes.
I
Also,
heard
might
of
be
moose
for, like-
knuckle and it sent me.
For a very thick, like vaginal, like very thick pussy, basically. Like it can be like a moose
Mhm.
knuckle also.
Oh,
I don't.
maybe
know
I
any other
have a
word for
moose
it.
knuckle.
Perhaps. Yeah, it's interesting because like when you think about like hentai, for example, and you know it's not to always like bring everything to like porn or hentai on this podcast, but it's just something I wanted to note is that yes, there are kinks in hentai, but one kink that I see that sort of has crossover, like with like maybe Western kink stuff is cages. You see quite a bit in like hentai, like the feminization types, which I've read a couple of them. Like one of the first things to do is to put the guy in a dress and put a little cage on his cock. That's an interesting thing I noticed.
Fuzzy and I indulge in gender play as well. I'm a cis woman, but Fuzzy is a person of gender, and we enjoy sort of feminization play and sort of sometimes I embody the big daddy energy as well, as part of our like regular sex life.
Yeah, but I think
just our regular life, to be honest.
I think the reason caging goes so well, chastity goes so well with that kind of thing is it's the emasculation, right? It's the removal of the penis, and because of society, we so strongly associate the penis with power, with being active, with being the top, which is something I could go on for ages about, because just because you're the one doing the penetration does not mean that you are topping. It does not mean that you are the dominant partner. It's just because she's giving you a blowjob doesn't mean. Yeah. Anyway, but it's just a shorthand, right? It's a hack. It's like remove the penis. Okay, problem solved. We now have, depending on who you ask, we now have a woman. We now have something less than a man. Because we're of society again, our brain, regardless of whether we're going to sit down and examine right or wrong or what the deal is, it's where your brain goes immediately, right? The masculinity has been removed, so this is now hot because
it's disempowerment.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. We'll definitely need to have you and Mystique do a whole video explaining to VTubers about bottoms and tops, because people are still getting it wrong in 2024.
Yeah, I can scream for hours.
The year of our Lord, 2024.
Yeah, right. Current year.
Current year. I'm going to move on to our next question that I've prepared. And it's a little bit more about your personal journeys, all of you. And the question is, how did you discover this kink, and how did you go about exploring it?
Okay, we've kind of got a little bit of a story there, so I'm going to let other people talk.
Yeah,
first. I'll start with Johnny's testimonial, actually. It's a little small, so I'll just blow it a tiny bit real quick. So Johnny would have liked us to know that, wait, that's the wrong one. Gotta switch it over. Forgot that it's not automatic. There we go. Johnny says, I was first introduced to the kink by my dom, who was training me to be a live-in pup. Parentheses, you could explain what that means, Atra:3, as it was a requirement for my training, and it was a little intimidating at first as I was leaking constantly and feeling super needy, but over time I learned to really enjoy that needy feeling. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what a live-in pup is. I assume it's some sort of pet play. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's kind of like how Fuzzy and Mystique have their 24/7 BDSM like lifestyle. It's the same as that, but as pup play, as you just said. So they'll have a cage and walkies and all that kind of fun stuff too.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for the explanation. That is Johnny's sort of thing. So in this case, Johnny found a dom who was experienced. This sort of helped ease that introduction into the lifestyle. But I'd like to hear from you and Furi, Amber, about your personal journeys.
So I kind of fell into it when one of my play partners asked me if I'd be their keyholder. In fact, I was the one that was taught about it rather than me asking one of my my play partners to do it for me instead. And I was kind of, I'm going to be honest, when I first got into it, I was like, do I really enjoy this? Am I getting anything out of this? But I think the power exchange of like giving over access to a part of your body kind of, yeah, I like that. And I like very much how, like Johnny said, he enjoys the needy feeling. I love when my play partners are needy for me and like they're so desperate to like, you know, touch themselves or have you touch them, but they can't. I love that. And so I just kind of reveled in it. And here I am now, just been learning about it. And it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, so I think it's
For
important to
me,
note there that not that it's not always like the dom's idea to bring chastity into a situation. Sometimes there can be a sub wanting to explore it, or as in Furi's case, Furi is exploring it on his own. Go ahead, Furi. By the way.
oh yeah, I was gonna say I discovered it years ago in bondage forums, the internet. Those two kinks are somehow really related. People that are into bondage usually like chastity too.
Mm-hmm.
But I never went after it. I just kept it on the back of my head. And then after all these years, I started seeing these challenges like NoFap September, No Nut November, and then Locktober. And I tried to participate in those, and I managed all of them practically. I don't know, I just have a lot of self-control, so these things for me come easy. So I might as well get a cage and get the next level of the challenge.
So not
Actually, yeah.
comes easy.
Yep, correctly. I'm pretty new to chastity cages actually. Like last month I started.
Yeah. So you've done like no Fap December, no Nut November, and things like that before.
Correct.
Gotcha. Mystiq and Fuzzy, why don't you tell your story as well?
I've told at least most of the story on the pod before. Fuzzy, are you okay with me talking about it?
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
Okay. So it comes back to that sort of the mind hacks that we were talking about earlier. I got chronic fatigue, which is a degenerative condition, quite early. I was 18 when it started, which is coincidentally when I met Fuzzy as well. I was 18. I think you were 19 by that point, but we started dating when I was 18, he was 19, and we got married when I was 22, he was 23. And as my condition degenerated, we didn't know what was happening for a very long time, and the way that it felt was that my desire for him was waning. And obviously, you know, that is a very sort of it's a horrible feeling for someone who is in an intimate relationship like a marriage to sort of watch what you think is your wife's desire for you declining in real time, kind of thing. Oh, I've lost my place. Oh yes, nope, it's gone again. Wait. This also, I don't have the excuse that it's 2:15. It's just
Your
this
sleeping
happens
pattern
at
is
all
just
times.
a mess.
So what would happen is that, like, we understood sex and sexual interactions as, you know, either it ends at the point where both of us have orgasmed, right?
Right.
And I think for a lot of people, whether you're vanilla or whether you're kinky, that is like something that seems to be like a default state or a belief.
Yeah,
but
penis goes in vagina, both couples have an orgasm. If you're a good guy, you get her off first. That's just the kind of... That's what you're raised to think, right? Or what you're trained to
then
think.
You have the baby, and then you never do it again.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And then the stork brings the baby and leaves it in a cabbage patch. So, like, I was at a point where if I orgasmed, I didn't necessarily have the energy to continue. And I would want to get him off first. And, you know, we don't do a lot of penetrative sex because, again, it's not something that, like, I'm able to do a lot of the time. So we do a lot of manual stimulation, giving each other head, that kind of thing. And I would want to get him off first. And he wanted to get me off first and then sort of enjoy that while he was still, like, in the horny phase and then come himself. And my desire also waned because I would feel like if I made any kind of intimate interaction with him, like kissing or fondling or just like grabbing a boob from behind when he was cooking or something, that it would be expected to end in sex. So the intimacy in our relationship was dying badly, and we realized that we had to do something because neither of us were happy, and we were thinking like, is this it? Is this the end? You know, we just done. And our solution was to literally like write out proposals for how we wanted the relationship to look and swap them and like talk about it and try out these different like solutions, like pressure test them basically. And if we found something that didn't work, we'd say, I found a bug, and then we would sit down right then and there and talk about it. And that is how I realized his anxiety and he realized my reluctance. And Chastity became a solution for us to like still experience intimacy, but it would go as far as I was comfortable with going and no further. It removed the pressure on me, which made me more like keen to initiate because I knew that I had total control, and it wouldn't have to end in like him being being disappointed because I didn't come, or that I only wanted to like, you know, kiss and fondle him for a bit and that was it. You know, oh my god, I can't talk. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so it actually saved our marriage in a way because it gave us the control that we needed and the impetus for engaging with each other intimately without necessarily having expectations that were just inevitably going to be dashed.
It was
sort of
something
like subverting the traditional roles of a relationship and sort of breaking it down to something a little bit more intimate but managed, I guess.
Yeah.
Managed is a good way of putting it. Orgasm denial was something I had been into in terms of pornography and that kind of thing for a while, and it's something that we'd kind of messed around with. We'd bought a cage or two off Amazon, eBay type situation sort of thing, which is something you should be careful of because you don't know what they're made of, and some of those metals can leach into you, and it's not a good time. But yeah, so it was something that was sort of always in the back of my mind, and then, you know, when we were talking about what the problem was and how to solve it, it sort of suggested itself, and I was like, hey, can we try this? And then we tried it, and it just works really well.
Mm-hmm. I hope you guys understood my sort of incoherent 5-minute ramble. I'm so
quite
sorry
coherent.
about that.
It was fine.
No, it was coherent because like what essentially is a mature couple, because you guys have been dating for a couple of years at that point, sort of like reassessing the societal expectations on your relationship and your own individual gender roles and ability and disability for that matter too.
Yeah.
And coming up with something that a framework that makes sense for the two of you, not rather than like the conventional society, which honestly is what more people should do, because people try to live up to those expectations and then just fall apart in like 7-8 years, maybe even sooner these days, you know?
Yeah, and then, you know, they feel like they can't fill them, so they stop trying. They don't even want to initiate because they don't feel like they can get to the end.
This is actually a good segue into another question from chat that I see folks are ready to answer, and it's this is from Vinny FRJ. Between a dom sub relationship, I feel pretty much like a switch, but when it comes to the S&M side of it, I'm extremely sadistic and pretty much no masochist at all. How to approach a situation like this, especially the submissive side? Is it even possible to be submissive and sadistic at the same time? Okay, my chat would fit this entirely. Nah, but I'm gonna turn it over to our panel to answer.
Amber, go.
Wait, sorry, my brain just went, hello, it's half two. Say that again, sorry. What was the question?
So the question essentially is it possible to be submissive and sadistic at the same time?
Yes. You can be okay. So, like many things, like sexuality and how you fit in a relationship, dom, sub, top, bottom, submissive, like it's all a scale. So myself, personally, I'm a switch. But I find I'm more top and or dom leading forward. So you can be kind of anything as long as you're just being open with your partners, you're explaining boundaries with one another. You can make any kind of combination of all the different, like, they're not job roles. Sorry, I'm stuck in Final Fantasy mode. They're not job roles.
It's bug reports and job roles.
Yeah, my mind really went to like parties and like.
So as long as you've got at least one DPS looking after you and you've got a tank going forward as well, you're going to be fine. Just make sure that everything is like explained between one another, and just make sure that you're keeping yourself and your partner safe. But yeah,
and there are DOMs who are masochists.
Yeah,
like you absolutely can be a service sub who deals out pain to a dom that enjoys it. Like that is completely valid.
One of our very good friends, one of the other moderators over on Yesmas, is extremely dominant. She is a traditional femdom in the old school sense. She needs to have control in the relationship and in her life, but she is an extreme masochist. She enjoys needle play.
Yeah.
And her
impact play to the point of bruising.
Yes, and her submissive partner is directed to do that when, where, how, and to the degree that she wants him to do it, and no more or no less. And that's just how it works, and he enjoys that. He really gets off on it, and so does she.
I think especially early on when you're exploring kinks, it's helpful to have that sort of relationship with someone, because they can help guide you safely in certain harder kinks. That's at least my perspective. I'm not a terribly hard kink person myself. In mine, it's mostly a journey of self-discovery, but I definitely think that if I was to maybe want to explore something like pain, blood play, etc., that you'd have someone dominant and knowledgeable, like sort of guiding you along.
Yeah, mentorship is very important if you can find it. We're obviously in a more online age now, and things are changing, which honestly does worry me a bit. Particularly things like the big thing that really gets me at the moment is everybody immediately goes to like choke me daddy, and like please don't
play with choking if you
there is no safe way to choke someone. There are risk aware ways to choke people, but please don't. Just don't.
The best example I have, and this VTuber will remain nameless, they thought the shock collar goes around their neck. They were surprised to hear that it doesn't go around your neck. If you're listening to this podcast, please don't put shock collars around your neck. It can make your heart go out of rhythm. Put it somewhere else, below the heart, like your leg. And do your research. But yes, that is an actual thing I saw someone say on Twitter, so.
Oh, gee.
God.
Do your research, folks. Yep. I'm gonna move on to the next question, which I have prepared. Yes. So I'm sure folks are wondering, especially that it is now Locktober, so there's a specific time of year in which people are doing these chastity challenges, and some people are going all month. But it's not the case for everybody, that everyone's just doing it at extended periods of time. So the question is, do you edge in cycles / at specific times, or is it more of a lifestyle for you? And there's a part 2 to this question also, which is, do you find it's enhanced your sex life in other ways, such as pleasure or tolerance, etc.?
One thing I really enjoy is denying Fuzzy for a while and like edging him, but not even giving him like a ruined orgasm to the point that he has a wet dream or a night emission. That's really sexy for me, because it's like like it's
It's a loss of control.
yeah, it's stimulating someone's body to the point that it affects them even when they're asleep and not even thinking about it. That's very sexy.
Also, in terms of cycles and that kind of thing, Locktober is not something we do because Mystiq is allergic to any kind of timers, both because of her condition and just because of how she is as a person. She does not enjoy being told what to do by anyone, and her contention is that in a situation like Locktober, and obviously this isn't everyone's experience, I know lots of partnered people who enjoy Locktober and have a great time with it, but in our case, Mystiq kind of feels that if you have a thing where it's like, okay, you're locked up for the month of October and you can come on November 1st, then the dominant in that relationship is not you, it's the calendar.
Yeah,
She doesn't like being told what to do.
Dominant calendars. That's funny. I like
a
that.
marriage is like a corporation. This Google Calendar.
Google Calendar just pop up everywhere. Honestly, like
Yeah.
if you're in a relationship, if you're in a kink relationship, if you're polyam, especially if you're polyam, the Google Calendar is very useful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we need to schedule this on Slack, everybody.
I've also this came to us by way of Johnny as well. Johnny did give us an example of what people do if they're like celebrating Locktober. So I'm just gonna put this over our faces real quick. So this is from Kitty Pants NSFW on Twitter. I'm gonna just move Johnny's testimony out of the way. There you go.
I love that I'm the only one who's visible.
Yes. Now present. No, I'm joking. But yeah, here's like a fun way that people are practicing it right now, and they've got things on here like Tuesday the 1st, lock and tease, lock up and tease yourself until you're leaking. Number 9, free balling, no underwear allowed today. Stuff like that. Like it's all kinds of different things. 26, October 26, complete naked cage check. Oh, that's gonna be cold. Do an outdoors cage check while completely naked. If it's too cold outside, go to a public restroom or take a photo at gym locker. Just a reminder, of course, people that don't involve the public in your kinks, and at any point, just be careful.
Yeah, be in a stall or something. Like, don't just be walking around with your cage on in the gym without a towel on, like drying your dick under the hand dryer or something. That's.
To be fair, if I saw that at the gym, I think it'd be like an athletic protector or a cup.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Still.
yeah, from a glance maybe, but the public hasn't consented to your kink play, so don't get them involved in it.
Exactly. Good point.
Also, don't wear a cage at the gym. I know it's hot, but the chances of you hurting yourself, like, be risk aware.
Yeah. So
also,
course,
when you're doing squats, going clink, clink, clink.
I was about to say, that doesn't sound very safe wearing, like, especially wearing metal cage and you're doing, like, barbell squats or something. I don't know. I don't go to the gym. But, like, doing, like, the heavy, like, barbell with lots of weights on it, doing the I can't know. That doesn't sound safe to me. No.
Yeah, so that was for illustrative purposes only, that calendar. We don't endorse anything we show here necessarily, and we say do your own research, and of course, don't involve the public or non-consenting parties in your play. But back to the question about like how often do you practice, here's what Johnny said. Johnny says, I don't have preset cycles, but I usually do time periods of 2 weeks to a month with some breaks in between. It has recently been more of a lifestyle for me since joining Fansly, but in that regard, it has definitely helped keep my sex drive up. This is an interesting point that Johnny's making here too. Johnny is a creator, one who is on Fansly quite a bit. Something that requires you to sort of be teased and get teased and use toys and sometimes even come. So it is interesting to see that some of these creators, like, because, you know, the default is like, I came 3 times, I came 6 times, I came 78 times, and it's like a badge of honor, you know? But then there's folks who might just do an entire stream and not come and just have that edging be like the play and like
Just
that
be
too
edged.
It just be edged, exactly.
Yeah, his viewers love it. Like, I've got to say, I've dropped in on a few of his streams, and like there is absolutely a market for that out there.
I've seen a few of Johnny's streams too, and he's really entertaining with it too, though. Like he's really good.
Yeah, he's such a consummate performer. He's funny and talented and like always sharp, even when he's like got 2 Coke cans worth of dildo up his ass or whatever.
I wanted to strangle him when we were playing Helldivers with toy integration because he kept shocking himself and getting shot. And I'm like, Johnny, buddy, the objectives. We got to get the objectives, Johnny.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
That was so good. No.
Yes, by the way, that is made possible by Furi's mod, Playful Plugins, a little plugin, little plug for the plugins mod.
Yeah, Footy makes love integrations for games.
That I had just released the shock feature to my app on that week. It was the first time I was seeing someone use it, so I hope it works. I hope nothing goes wrong.
It seemed to work really well. He seemed to really enjoy it. You just in that VOD, you just hear him screaming, "Shock, shock, shock, shock!" Like, yep, I think it works.
You know, it was funny.
You? Yeah. Go ahead.
On one of his streams, he was talking about how he's in Chastity so much more since he started Fansly, and that he like it's come to a point where he wants to be in the cage like all the time and misses being out of it, like the comforting aspect.
I do find sort of parlaying your sexuality into content has a way of making things a little bit more business-like. Because then, like, I'll be there on Tuesday, like, nope, I'm doing a stream on Thursday, so I'm gonna hold it in. I'm not gonna come today, because, like, it's gonna be all the more hotter if I say I haven't come in 2 days, blah, 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 yada, 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 when I'm doing the fancy stream.
Oh, yeah. I bet your viewers eat that up.
I know a creator that when she ends stream, she makes a challenge to chat. If they donate X amount of money, she won't come for 2 weeks until the next stream.
Oof.
Wow.
Wow.
That's rough.
Well, yeah,
So-
I could definitely see the
content.
appeal. Yeah.
So I just wanted to roll back to your question of like edging in cycles and like
Right.
lifestyle and stuff.
Yes.
So obviously I'm not wearing a cage. I'm the one holding the key. I find like obviously chastity is very different for every single person. Some people, as everyone has pointed out earlier in today's chat, like some people go for a couple of hours, couple of days, couple of weeks at a time. I find that how it's enhanced sex life for me is okay, it's a bit personal, but I don't mind because I trust all of you. So I love, I don't know if anyone else has had this, but I love it when my partner is wearing a cage and dry humping where you can feel the metal.
Yes.
So you can feel the metal, and if it's a decent cage where there's enough airway and there's enough gappage in the cage, they can just feel the feeling of like your mouth.
Skin on skin.
Yeah, the skin on skin, but no actual penetration. I love that very much. And I've found like chastity and cage play has definitely enhanced foreplay and making the want more higher, like more like desperate and like the neediness for both sides of the party. But yeah, that's how it's changed for things for me anyway.
Honestly, that sounds hot as fuck.
Oh, it's so good. Highly recommended. Highly recommended.
Love it.
I wanted to hear from Fury as well about like sort of do you sort of also edge in cycles, or is it sort of like a long-term sort of thing for you where like you might go a month or two without doing any sort of like coming and such?
Without the cage, I usually do it once a day. But It's like at least 1 hour if I do it. It's at least 1 hour of edging, and then I come at the end. I think it's for me it's better than doing multiple times. At least I feel better after. The pleasure is bigger, I think, overall. And if you do it multiple, at least me, if I do it multiple times, I feel really, really tired after. Maybe even the day after, and I don't like that feeling. So do it just once, it's okay. I don't feel anything after.
If you
It's so funny.
seen that meme of like the Japanese AV star, like, and the guy in the bed, and he's just like dried out husk. That's how I felt after my second to last like fancy string where I come 3 times, because it's just like,
you must have been a raisin after that.
it was just
A raisin! Oh my god, I love it.
Now, it's actually very funny, Footy, because with Fuzzy, he is like better adjusted and happier if I don't let him come. And like if I edge him and just like leave him there, he is actually like happier and more settled and relaxed than if I let him have orgasms.
That's interesting.
It's funny how bodies work, isn't it?
It is.
Oh yeah. I'm not participating in that calendar thing. Doing tasks like that just feel like work for me. So
Yeah.
not my thing. I know Johnny loves it, but but one of the tasks that I tried is the one where you unlock edge and then lock back without coming.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I've done
That's
that.
good.
I've done that. I did No Nut November 2 years ago, like seriously, and I'll never do it again because it was an emotional time. I was an emotional wreck somewhere around November 20th because I'm just like, I need to come. I'm so sad.
I'm so sad.
I need my dopamine.
Yeah, I
feel
needed
that.
the dopamine. I was feeling depressed. There was a lot of like heavy personal stuff happening with my friends at the time, and also like I was feeling physiological like effects too, in which I'm like, oh god, am I just like full of cum right now? Like I don't. No, wait, take that out of context.
Just imagine his like eyeballs floating around.
You know, it can be a hard thing to go from like coming once a day to like not doing anything.
Oh, I
for,
guarantee
like,
it.
Days. And at the time, I actually did just go right up to the edge, like right up, like one more pump, and it'd be coming out. I'm like, nope. And never again.
Yeah, fapping is my coping mechanism.
Mine too. High five. Other hand.
Left-handed high five. Oh no, wait, you're a lefty. Fuck.
Right-handed.
I use my right hand. I use my right hand for that.
Oh, okay.
I'm a switch hitter. For you baseball fans out there, all one of you.
All one of you?
I know my
But
audience,
anyway.
they're not watching baseball.
Vinny, that is an interesting thing. Some antidepressants do make you anorgasmic. I take quite high doses of antidepressants because of my brain and everything. And when I first started on antidepressants, they started me on a generic version of, I think it was Xanax? Prozac.
It is Prozac.
Fluoxetine. Yes, thank you,
Oh, Floxy
Fuzzy, for
sucks.
remembering
It's bad
things.
news.
And I became a zombie. I couldn't cry. I couldn't come. It was horrific. So
I would be down there for an hour. It wasn't
Yeah.
happening. It was, yeah. My tongue would get sandpapered.
So, if you are experiencing symptoms of anorgasmia when you are on antidepressants, or you feel like you can't cry or express emotions, talk to your doctor about changing antidepressants because it is probably not working for you. Because there are times like when I would say to Fuzzy, like, if I was normal, I would be crying right now, and like I feel like crying, but nothing is happening on my face or eyes or anything like that. So,
Like
talk
emotional constipation, basically.
exactly. And yeah, talk to your doctor if you are feeling those symptoms, because that means that the antidepressants are not working.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, everybody else can talk now.
Yeah, to answer the question that Ryan Responds has in chat, yes, if you do have a wet dream during No Nut November, it's a make your own rules sort of situation. I don't think if anyone ever shames you and says like, oh, you didn't actually do it, you're faking it, whatever it is, just tell me to shut up. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's silly, it's self-imposed. Frankly, I'll never do it again. I think others shouldn't do it either, because
I don't like the No Nut November thing just because, like, of the what's it called? Ferdy?
Associations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To fascist hate groups like the Proud Boys.
Yeah. The thing with No Nut November, right, is that it's a silly fun joke, and it doesn't. In its modern context, it doesn't really have any association with any kind of right-wing group, but you have to remember that it came out of a combination of 4chan and Reddit's NoFap subreddit, and at sort of, if you scrape that a little bit and you dig a little bit down, it ends up with your kind of
pledge night at the Reichstag.
Yeah, anti-degenerate semen retention gives you magic vril powers. Woman make the legs weak.
Suntan, you're
kind
taint.
of thinking. Yeah, go blast your taint with radiation. It if you dig down, it ends up in that kind of thinking, which is kind of why I'm a little more partial to Locktober than No Nut November. But again, in modern times, it's just a fun little joke. It's not. I don't think anyone who participates
you're not a
in it
fascist for
actually
doing it.
is a fascist or even knows about those associations. That's just sort of where it started. And be wary of anyone
My
who tells
date
you.
was on September. It was not even November. It was on September. September.
That's true. Yes, it was supposed to be September, and they changed it to November.
It says it's November because it rhymes better.
Alliteration.
Fascist level alliteration, I guess.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, never trust anybody who tells you that semen retention will give you magic powers.
That's the thing. Do it for yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you think you're gonna have fun, do it. If you're not having fun, stop it. There's no shame in that. It's just for fun.
Yeah, there's no point if you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, that's great advice too, Fury. Actually, that has a good sort of segue into question 4. Here we go. It's about chastity. Chastity conjures up images of medieval knights and clergy. What are some misconceptions about chastity?
Okay, I mean, I just gave a punch. I will say one more, and then I'll let everybody else talk. But the idea of a medieval chastity device is not real. The medieval chastity devices you'll see, even in some less ethical museums, are almost all Victorian fabrications. They are invented because the Victorians, despite having
massive
this reputation
perverts.
Despite having this reputation as being these Puritans, they were all massive perverts who were spanking each other behind closed doors. Like the whole modern spanking scene comes out of that. But no, if you see a chastity device, like some kind of weird, brutal, medieval-looking chastity device, that's a Victorian fabrication. Okay, that's me done.
Of course.
Some misconception. I can't put
Misconceptions.
Thank you.
All the Brits are like,
Also, speech impediment go. But like, any time I brought up chastity before with like spicy friends, it's everyone's first misconception is if you enjoy chastity, you are a twink, or you prefer, or you like sissification. Like it's automatically like seen as if you are a penis haver, like you're less of a man. Like, and I guess it's kind of like the humiliation and stuff like that is kind of part of it. But like, obviously you've got female chastity havers too. You've got like the lady chastity cage and such. So it's not all just men wearing maid outfits, although I wouldn't be upset about that either, honestly. But there's more to chastity than being lesser. Like, I like empowering my chastity wearers. Like, I like empowering my partners when they're wearing them. It's yeah. That's my side of it anyway.
No, that's a great point. I think when you start to talk about any sort of chastity play and any sort of like kink that relates to not being the dominant dick haver and like putting your stuff in holes, it immediately just defaults to, oh, well, you must be a little bit gay. You must be a bit of a twink or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
like
unfair.
the penile disempowerment narrative is so powerful in our Western society.
Mhm.
The other
Like,
mis
VTubers, like they associate being the bottom with like being like a sissy or a gay or a twink.
Yeah, like I don't understand
or
that.
incompetent or
Right.
like a
Or
baby.
Or,
Mhm.
baby.
Or stupid.
Yeah. And again, it's
Yeah,
like VTubers
fair.
taking like the LGBT and like kink language and like not understanding it and running with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they don't do that very often. Just take something and run with it completely. Too far.
Yes.
The other misconception is that if you enjoy chastity, you must be some like god-bothering Puritan, and this is a way for you to cope.
Right.
Is something I've encountered. Like it's a way for you to get out of sex, basically.
Or that you might be an incel,
Yes.
Yeah.
in which you're taking your inability to have sex and making it a whole lifestyle. Which the two things are not related, because involuntary celibatude is not a kink term. It's a societal description of somebody who's internalized heavily negative impressions of relationships and people.
It's also not a thing because like other people are people. And it's not like being involuntarily childless where like me, where I can't have children, where it's like there is a physical medical reason why I can't, and it's unchangeable. Like you just are so odious that your preferred sexual partners, potential
the
sexual
government
partners
hasn't
can't
come
stand
in
you.
and like mandated that you must be celibate. That would be involuntary celibatude.
Exactly.
That'd be involuntary, like, that's different. That's no higher authorities preventing you from like having sex.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way of externalizing your own sort of putridness as a person, so you don't have to face it and improve, because improving's hard.
And yet it's so wrapped up in like these self-improvement like grifters and like this.
Oh yeah, Jordan Peterson. You have to clean your room and be a lobster and eat lots of raw mince.
That actually I have an idea about that, but I do want to read Johnny's thing real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Oh, I love me some good old-fashioned Catholic guilt. Well, remember, Jesus cries every time you jerk off, parentheses, warrior creep. So in a way, a chastity cage is really the holiest thing you can do. And by that, it means I really had to focus on learning how to please my holes. I mean, here essentially Johnny said that how do I put this? I mean, like he's using the lack of access to the penis to, like, focus on other pleasure centers, like other holes and such.
Like
yeah,
the
which can
anus,
also
the
be-
P spot.
Exactly.
The moment you learn, you don't need your dick to come.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes, the hands-free mode.
Yeah, I actually had a client on Fansly who sent me like a picture of his erect dick in front of like a custom audio that I'd sent him that was like on a laptop, and he was like, "I've come hands-free to your voice twice."
That's wild.
And I was like,
That's
"Damn."
wild.
That's actually amazing. I'm not going to lie.
That is amazing. That's a superpower. Just make people
That
come
is a
to your voice.
superpower.
I mean, she could do
Probably
it to
the
me.
worst X-Man, but
The worst X-Men.
it's fucking
Like-
Cognito.
It
like
was a,
like doing the tiger's roar from Kung Fu Hustle, but people are just coming everywhere.
It was a spell in the old Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 Book of Erotic Fantasy. Now, obviously, it wasn't an official Wizards of the Coast product, but it was a product you could buy for real money. And there was a spell in there to. It was basically Tasha's hideous laughter, but it was just orgasms.
Nice.
It's hilarious.
Also, this is the first time I've seen Fuzzy's little PNG in action, and I love how whenever he talks, it looks like it's going, wee! I get to talk now!
Artist is Rossi Sculpts on Twitter, and he's great.
So where do people get this impression, I guess, like, in your opinion? Like, where do people get this impression that not coming is good for you? Like, what is the misconception about chastity that leads people to embrace it for the wrong reasons, so to speak?
Okay, can I take this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I know I've been talking a lot. I tend to lecture people, but so you've got a couple of things at work here, right? I'm not a biologist. I'm barely a computer scientist, but it is my understanding that you can get happy chemicals from constantly maintaining the plateau phase rather than actually reaching climax, because you don't get the post-nut clarity, you don't produce the cortisol that you do when you actually orgasm. It's also, if you are masturbating excessively, whatever that means to you, you can, just like any other thing that produces dopamine, you can become desensitized to it. You can build up a tolerance, right? So you come in 3 times a day, every day, you're getting less kick out of it every time. So reducing the frequency and sort of increasing the length of stimulation can be really beneficial. I mean, it is for me. I use it as a way to regulate my own mental health to a degree. I mean, obviously, if you have mental health problems, please go to therapy. Don't use kink as therapy. It doesn't work that way, but it does help. The other more darker aspect is the whole semen retention thing, which comes out of, in modern times, it basically comes out of Nazi mysticism. Before that, the Romans had thoughts about it, the Greeks had thoughts about it, lots of cultures have thoughts about it. In fact, I had a martial arts instructor who ordered us to refrain from coming for 2 weeks before a fight because
Good God.
you need to increase your power, right? But there is a school of thought who believe that the Proud Boys are quite keen on this kind of thing. A lot of the other groups are quite keen on that kind of thing as well. There are some groups who literally believe it will give you magic powers as well.
Yeah, those folks are very unserious.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this pervasive. Like, it goes quite a ways back. As you've mentioned. Most famously, we talked about in the group chat Joseph Kellogg and his cornflakes being invented as an anti-masturbatory food.
Same with circumcision. It was popularized by Kellogg as a way to desensitize the penis and stop people masturbating. People are so obsessed with genitals. Like, I don't know what it is about the religious drive, but like the way that it is like obsessive with how people use, rod A and slot B are just insane. Like, can you imagine if it like was as prescriptive about when you could like punch someone in the face or kill someone as it was about regulating sex? Seriously, it would be insane.
Maybe for religious folks, it's like the biggest manifestation of sin on the body, so to speak. My VTube stereo has crashed. Give me a sec.
Yep, you just disappeared into the void.
I did.
It's my show now. We predicted this would happen.
We knew this would happen.
At least the entire stream didn't crash. I made the mistake, chat, of updating some of my software and BIOS before stream today, and it's become unstable. Anyway, we're back. Hello.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so it feels like very much like the genitals are the biggest manifestation of sin on the human body for a lot of cultures and religions. Whereas if you actually thought about it, it'd be your hands and your tongue, but that's neither here nor there.
If thine eye offends you and all that stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's self-gratification, basically. You can't be allowed to feel too good.
It goes to extreme measures. Look at sub-Saharan Africa and female genital mutilation. That's all about making sure that women don't feel any sexual gratification whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we
off topic, but yeah.
We grew up in South Africa, and being sort of 80% sort of black and people of color, we had traditional tribal friends who went to the bush and got circumcised as teens, and that was their transition into manhood. And they got I don't know, hazed or whatever, taught how to be men. Sorry,
initiated is the term.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
that
we
is
can.
Interesting because these cultural fixations are all over the world. Almost every culture has some kind of fixation about genitals and masturbation and morality and such.
And cleanliness. A lot of people think that it's cleaner and more sanitary to be circumcised, and that's just not true. Just use soap and water. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hell, I even went to the now closed Rubin Museum in New York last week, and there was an artist's depiction of someone's in the Himalayas being sent out of their home because they were menstruating.
Oh yeah, menstruation huts.
Yes, in menstruation huts, essentially, which I'm led to believe is no longer a common practice, but is still a thing that existed at some point in that culture, in which someone bleeding from their uterus would have to be separated from the household.
Yeah.
Just
there's a lot of cultures where that happens, or used to happen anyway, and women would die in those huts because they would be unheated, and the Himalayas, bit chilly in it. So
yeah, a little chilly in it. Yep. Right. By the way, chat, we are going to be going closer to the 2-hour limit today because most of our guests need to go to bed at some point or have things to do afterwards. So we have about maybe a half an hour left. So please get those questions into chat, and we'll do our best to answer them if they're on topic and in sequence with what we're talking about.
The British aren't coming. The British aren't coming.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
There is a question here about pain and such, about discomfort, because this is something that even I was wondering about. It's number one, doesn't this hurt? And number two, what happens if it does? So the question is there any element of pain to your play? And how do you manage pain or discomfort? While I do that, I'm going to bring Johnny's answer up on screen. There we go. Johnny's play does have quite a bit of pain to it, as we mentioned in the shock collar. So what Johnny said was, I mean, there is an element of pain or uniqueness for me, but I don't believe there has to be. In my case, I'm a bit of a masochist, so I enjoy certain amounts of pain. I should point out that there is little discomfort or pain from the cage itself. In fact, it's quite comfy once you get used to it. I would recommend getting straps for your long-term wear if that is your plan. So Johnny, anticipating and reading your minds here, we mentioned the straps, we mentioned making sure it fits right, and that in fact that it just holds you, and it's not really something that is meant to squeeze you like a cock ring, for example. But how about the panel? What do you guys feel about the, say someone comes to you early on and they're saying they're feeling a bit of discomfort from their cage and stuff like that. How would you sort of advise them, is my question.
So for me, if any of my lot feel like they are finding any discomfort with wearing their cage, we automatically take it off and we ascertain what the issue is, if there's any issue outside of just not being used to it yet. I have a medical background, so I can do like typical like genital checkovers, and obviously keep an eye on like cleanliness and such things like that. But for any like long distance, sorry, brain not working. Any long distance partners, if they don't have like a cage with a code on it, they sometimes use, I don't want to call them zip tie cages because it's not a zip tie, but it's kind of like, instead of like, it's like a normal cage, but instead of like a lock mechanism for a key, it's like what do you call it? There's a name for it, but it's like a it's like a little plastic tie which you put through where a normal lock mechanism would be, and it can be
like a
auto cut.
security tag.
Yes, thank you. It's a security tag because they're all numbered, so I know who's got a tag when and all that kind of nonsense. And so that can be easily cut off if I can't be there in person to do it. Obviously, I give them permission to do that and blah blah blah. But obviously, as I'm not a chastity wearer myself, I wouldn't know how to advise any further than just keeping an eye on your partner and managing the pain, as it were, or any discomfort, as it were, from anything they're telling you. But again, it's just like listening to your partner, isn't it, really? In the end.
So effective communication, very key here. And I think we also want folks to know like cleanliness matters too. As well as like making sure it fits right as well.
Yeah, don't become obsessed with keeping the cage on 24/7. Like, take a break, clean it out. Don't let the nasty stuff build up because you will get a rash and then you can't wear your cage for weeks at a time.
We may at some point do an entire thing about sex and hygiene, but some really adept folks at that, or some very experienced folks. So it's going to be an interesting episode, so to speak. I was also going to ask Furi about the sort of online play, like the play over the internet. But I'll give Furi a minute to collect his thoughts. And before that, do you have any thoughts about the pain question, Furi, regarding like discomfort or pain, or like whether it's welcome or not in your play, essentially?
Yeah, I think it's welcome if it's intentional. If it's not intentional, just end the play there and go rest your parts. So make sure that the cage fits well. Get the strap. Being shaved down there helps a lot.
Good point.
You can even use some lube around the ring, so it won't chafe. That's it.
Of course. I guess from the perspective of someone exploring it online for the first time, can we talk a little bit about like where you're getting your information from, and if you have any people you're playing with, how you sort of have that connection to them and such? Like tell us a little bit more about the online aspects, because Mystiq, Fuzzy, and Amber here are all very experienced with the in-person and IRL play, but given your circumstances, Furi, you may not have the opportunity to do so. So I guess many of the viewers of the podcast would be a little curious to hear your perspective on this.
Oh yeah, as far as information, I just research a lot, many places. Usually after you research 10 different places and they all say the same thing, you say, okay, that's common knowledge to that community. So there's not much mystery there. Just know what you're doing. And then for the internet, there are sites, there are
Joining
Discord servers for
communities.
that.
Would you say you
Yeah.
spend time on Reddit, for example, or?
I usually don't. I'm more interested in how they work than using it myself. Just like I'm nerding out about this. Their sites have you can set up a session. You can take a picture of a combination lock that's keeping your keys away from you. You can set up hygiene breaks that will show you the combination so you can unlock your cage to clean it up. There's a timer on that, so you need to get back on the cage before the timer runs out. There are a lot of games to bet points, like rolling dice, playing blackjack for hours or days in Chastity. You can share your session with key holders, and there's a lot of stuff. It's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a no, yes.
No, go for it.
There's a Discord channel to. I'm not sure if I'm gonna explain this because I'm pretty sure most people don't know how it works. But there's a combination lock. It's basically a box you put your keys in, lock with the combination, and if you don't know the combination but you took a picture of it and upload it to someone or a site or an app or a key holder, then that key holder site, whatever, has the power to unlock you. That's basically the process. You take a picture of the combination when you're setting it without looking at the combination. So this is the basic mechanic of these communities.
So in a way, adapting Discord to sort of like enhance the play by like bringing other folks into it around the world, so to speak. It's very interesting.
There's also channels where people can upload verification pictures. They basically give you a code you need to write on a piece of paper and take a picture of that paper next to your cage and upload to Discord so they can check if you are still in the cage or not.
Oh, okay. So it's like a accountability thing.
Yep.
In which you can take a hostage photo of your cage, so to speak.
Yep.
In today's newspaper.
They can.
Code.
If you're also into that, they can. If you fail any of these steps, if you cheat out of the cage, they can release the photos to the public like a consensual blackmail.
Ah, okay.
That's consensual.
Consensual is the key.
That's important.
And that is in itself might be a kink of its own, honestly. Yeah.
It is.
Online technology too has like really advanced in ways we couldn't possibly have expected when it comes to toys and even just conventional like remote stuff like Levins and whatever it is. I believe Fuzzy mentioned something in the group chat about Bluetooth cages, hot cages, and
yes,
essentially what might go wrong in that scenario. You want to tell us a little bit more about that, Fuzzy?
Okay, so Furi can probably chime in on this because I think he remembers the case a bit better than I do. But as I recall, this startup company produced a chastity device that works in the same way as any other like teledildonics internet connected sex toy. So you got your chastity cage, it's got a lock on it. The lock connects to the app on your phone via Bluetooth, and then obviously you can integrate it with the kind of games that Furi was describing. You can give the link to someone else so that they can control your cage, etc. And basically it can just be locked and unlocked remotely. But being an Internet of Things device, it has horrendous security, and I was under the impression that someone had actually hacked it, but Furi was saying it's more likely, or the case was that somebody had just a penetration tester, which is a fun word to use in the podcast like this.
Yeah.
But basically they had figured out that this thing was vulnerable and managed to, at least in a test case, lock it remotely. But the company then, if I'm remembering correctly, the company then had to sort of release a statement saying, look, if your device does happen to lock permanently, you can actually defeat the device very easily by sticking your screwdriver in this hole here, and then it'll just pop open.
That's good if you
That
have a
is
screwdriver, I suppose.
Yeah.
I read about the case on the, I think the proper pen testers website. If I remember correctly, the biggest issue with that case is that it was for it to work, it had to connect to the company's server on China. It was like nothing local at all through their API. So, and they had almost no encryption and security. So, someone could steal all your information from their database, like your name, your phone,
Yep.
your place, and that's a no-no.
And they could probably use it to piggyback onto the rest of your network and do some nasty things. Yeah.
Mm.
Be careful of
Also,
Internet of Things devices, people.
The same company released a new cage, and this one has shock features, so that's even worse
Mm.
if it gets hacked. In my opinion, if you want this type of play, buy a classic cage and a lockbox. There are lockboxes that you can connect to Bluetooth and stuff. You don't need to have this type of connection in the cage itself.
Yep.
Right. Going to someone's server that's not even encrypted.
If you're going to
That is
spend
some-
that kind of money, get a proper custom cage. You can get very nice metal ones. You can even get slightly cheaper 3D printed ones now, which are made of medical grade silicon, and they're wonderful. They're great. A number of my friends have them, and they're very happy with them.
So is it a soft silicone?
No, it's a. As I understand it, I've never actually touched one, but as I understand it, it's still a stiff material. It's just
It's basically semi-rigid, like the stuff that you make like silicone dildos out of.
Oh, okay. I understand. Got it. Oh, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Probably a lot cleaner too.
Mm.
Right, chat. So I'm gonna give you guys one more shot to ask any questions to our audience here. I'm gonna go through my notes to see if I missed anything. We had something here about inescapable chastity, which we did speak about. The fact that you can just wiggle out of it, literally.
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's keeping you from escaping is your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You got to want to do the thing. The device isn't going to keep you honest. Your brain is keeping you honest.
Absolutely. Oh, we used the term earlier called orgasm denial. Misty, can you go into a bit what that means and ruined orgasms?
So orgasm denial is literally just, at its face, it's literally just denying someone the opportunity to come or the ability to come. Going into it more in depth, it is where you are applying stimulation to the point where they want to come and telling them not to. So for us, what that looks like is usually a session will end in at least a ruined orgasm, which is an orgasm where you ejaculate, so the semen flows out, but you don't experience the orgasmic contractions and catharsis of orgasm. So basically you get to a point, you take away all the stimulation right at the point of no return, as you go over the crest, and the semen will flow out, or if you're a woman, you get super juicy down there, whatever happens, whether you squirt or not, and you will basically get, how do I describe it? You will get the de-escalation that you would get post-orgasm without having the orgasm. So you are basically taken to the point of horniness of like, I'm about to come, and then just left there. But because you've had a ruined orgasm, depending on how hard you ruin it, and like with Fuzzy, I've ruined him so hard that he has had like contusions. Well, not contusions, like micro tears in his urethra, because like he ejaculated so hard, but he like stayed horny. That you will just be left there, and you will not be able to continue masturbating or giving yourself relief, because you'll be oversensitive because you've just come, but you didn't.
Yeah. Your body goes into recovery, but your at least some of your hormones in your brain don't.
Yeah, so you've not actually had that catharsis, and for Fuzzy that means that like he still has a lot of dopamine and oxytocin flowing in his system, because you don't get like the release of adrenaline, or not adrenaline, the other
Cortisol.
one, not cortisol. No, the one the pancreas makes, insulin.
Insulin.
Insulin that like packs away all of your adrenaline, and like you get that slump of all your endorphins. God, this sentence went on forever. Can I start again with that sentence? That was so fucking incoherent. Oh my God. I am very tired. The CFS is not being kind to me right now. So basically your body goes into recovery, but you don't get the drop that you get after orgasm. So for Fuzzy, he stays in that lovely like relaxed state, and he feels like very floaty and like chilled out and at ease, and he feels very loved and connected.
Clarity.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I get extremely aggressive.
Yeah.
Like I will become angry, and I don't generally become angry very easily, but I will genuinely become very angry if I'm sort of dropped off at that point and just left there. So it depends how your body works.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it took me so long to get to that point. I'm so sorry.
But you got there, and that's what matters.
I'm sorry.
We got a question in chat from Vinny FRJ. Regarding 3D printed stuff, what are your thoughts on resin printing toys like dildos and butt plugs? Safe, not safe, use them as a mold, or cover them in silicone/TPU? I'm
Okay.
honest, I don't really think the materials coming out of 3D printers are safe in that kind of way. I know that they may be used for like medical devices in some cases, but I have a hard time believing that you can make an entire dildo out of, and maybe this is just my own ignorance on the topic, but like kind of have a hard time believing that this is a safe thing. But you guys have thoughts?
I believe you can do it with extrusion printers where you can get medical grade materials. I don't know that I would trust them myself. I would not. Again, I'm not a 3D printing buff. I'm looking at getting my first 3D printer for Christmas, actually, but that's the extent of my knowledge right now. But I would not trust resin. I believe any kind of resin print is porous. I think you could probably get away with using it for a mold, but your post-mold cleanup process would have to be incredibly thorough, like clean room thorough, because again, my understanding is that the kind of resin used in 3D printing is very it's not just plastic, it's very, 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 very toxic. You have to be like super duper careful with it. It's kind of can cause the same sort of problems as asbestos.
Oh,
Oh,
didn't know that.
Because it's these very fine little particles. Yeah, I'm not an authority on this by any means, but I wouldn't trust it. I would be very cautious with it.
yeah,
I'm
that's
kind
my
of-
feeling too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of in the same boat. Anything that no, I don't trust 3D printed toys. Not yet, anyway. Like maybe give it like another 5 years, but anything that could possibly be porous is not a good idea in my books.
I'm like somewhere in the future, maybe. when we're all like, 20 years down the line in content creation, and like creators can upload the schematics of their genitals and people can print them out around the world. Maybe that day will come, but we are not there yet. Dental grade resin, yeah, no, like exactly. Like anything you could probably get your hands on, it probably isn't sufficient to be used in any sort of to go inside of you, especially. It's like one thing when we're talking about cages necessarily. It's another, and again, even the cage is like, if the material's porous, it's around, your dick, urine, everything. Like it's a tricky situation. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say go with trusted brands, because even if you get your cage off Temu, you're running a risk there.
Yep. I have literally seen photos of people's dicks that have got funny colors because they've bought cages or cages off Chinese sites, let's say, because they're obviously not all Chinese. But
of course. I mean, they manufacture just about anything over there, so you'll find often not anything from dildos to like heavy industrial machinery. And again, it's even the thing that was mentioned previously, but the IoT, Internet of Things issue is like, there is a gap in like security and like accountability when it comes to buying anything IoT that's not like made in the EU or the US. So it can be a bit of a gamble to take your to do something like that. So I think we really want people to come away with the notion that, number one, do your research, like Furi said. Number two, go to trusted stores, shops, websites, and such, as Fuzzy said. And also to get mentorship and work things out with your partners, so to speak, as well, as Amber said, and Mystiq as well.
Don't buy sex toys from the same place you could buy a scuba diving mask and a tractor.
I mean, that's just Walmart. Walmart.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point. Walmart is probably okay. Just don't buy anything that says jelly. Like, get that silicon.
Right. I'm going to give chat maybe a couple more seconds getting last minute questions in. Otherwise, we're going to start to wrap up at the 2-hour mark, which is soonish because, it is very late in the UK, in which 3 out of our 4 guests here tonight are from.
Yeah, and Mystique might try and tell another story for another 45 minutes.
It's okay, Fuzzy might give another lecture.
We might actually need to find a format that like utilizes the lectures and stories, because they're very engaging, very interesting. We may have to figure something out.
Fuzzy is great to have around because he knows like a lot of stuff. And my partner from Kentucky came over, and Fuzzy took him around London, and he came home and he was like, it was great. I didn't need the guided tour. Like, I didn't need to get the audio tour. Fuzzy just knew everything.
Yeah, I'm like that way with my city as well, so I totally get it. But this has been the Devs Podcast, episode 40. Locktober, Chastity, Denial, and its enjoyers. I want to thank our guests that stayed up late, especially to be here tonight. We really appreciate it. And we also want to give a shout out to Johnny, who wasn't feeling well but still gave his input, and we were able to hear a bit of his perspective too. He was very excited to be here, unfortunately could not make it. I'm going to give our guests a chance to do some plugs and tell us a bit about themselves and what they've got going on. We're going to go left to right, starting with Furi. Furi, go ahead and tell our audience at home what you've got going on.
What I got going on, I have, I'll be developing my app further, including other games. I have Vampire Survivors on the line, almost ready. Then Monster Hunter. I'm also started streaming here on Twitch, so you can follow me here. I don't know if I can post links or...
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server.
That link
usually
is dead.
if
Oh, you just take out the @
okay.
Give me 1 sec. Shout out at Furi. Yep, there we go.
Usually if you find one of my links, you find all of them, because I have my link tree spread all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah, so chat, as previously mentioned, Furi has recently started streaming here on Twitch. Please give him a follow. He has been streaming his development process for his mods. The mod set is called Playful Plugins. It allows you to use buttplug.io, former guest of the show, Q Dot, his platform, his framework, to mod games such as League of Legends, Helldivers, Overwatch, and many others. Yes.
Peggle.
Oh, and Elden Ring. And Peggle, yes.
Elden
I've done the Peggle one also. I've used all of his mods except for what's it called? Overwatch. It's on the line at some point. But thank you so much, Furi. It was great to hear from you. And also thank you so much for all the work you're doing with putting out free content for us, basically. Like it's available for free on itch.io, but make sure you throw a little dono too here and there. You gotta keep your
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Yes. Toss a coin to your software dev.
And thank you all for using the app. I love the content. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Furi. Next up, we've got Amber. Amber, what you got going on?
I've actually got a vacation coming up next week, so I'm very excited. But I'm still doing variety content here on Twitch. Obviously, as it's spooky month, I'm kind of focusing on creepy, cozy, cute, scary. But I'm also in the midst of doing a lot of my own script writing because I've been so busy doing personal comms over on the Fansly. Haven't actually had time to release some more public stuff. You can find my Fansly Drought After Dark. I do a lot of I do a little bit of everything really over there. I want to start getting streaming over there on Fansly at some point too, but baby steps. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's been absolutely fucking delightful. I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you also stayed up for this. I know you have to drive soon, so I'll
Yeah.
not keep you for much longer. Yeah, so that's been Amber. Amber, if you want to get more from Amber, some of her perspective on the horror content, make sure you check out, I think it's episode 16, the witchcraft episode. Amber spoke a bit there about the content, the horror, and such there. So go check that out. And thank you again, Amber, for joining us.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Fuzzy. Fuzzy, go ahead and tell us what you got going on, or a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Okay, it's me, Fuzzy. I am the goblin who lives in Mystique's walls. I don't have anything going on personally, but I would like to plug the Discord server. Yes, miss, we are still alive, despite rumors to the contrary. We don't advertise super publicly. If you're desperate for a well-established femdom server with some
That's focused on mentorship and education.
Yeah, focused on mentorship, focused on education. We skew much older. A lot of the time we just sit at work and shitpost, complain about work. But if you need a kink question answered in a serious way, that's the place to do it. Obviously, check out Lady Mystiq on everywhere, Twitch, Fansly, etc. She's got some awesome things cooking in the background. I'm helping with some of them. Yeah, also check out the wonderful Pocket Trash VT, who I moderate for. She's here on Twitch. She's just paused her subathon to go on holiday. She will be back in a week. She's also recently started a Fansly, and she is extremely hot. I do recommend. Cool, that's me.
Thank you very much, Fuzzy. You were very informative. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah. And last but not least, Lady Mystiq.
Hey everyone, I'm Lady Mystiq, aka Shut Up, Why Won't She Shut Up? I have a Twitch, I am on Fansly. I tend to do pre-recorded content and picture sets on Fansly mostly, since streaming is a bit tough for me. But I have some new models in the works that are almost done. They will be premiering on Twitch and Fansly very soon. Bigger tits than this one. This one was kind of a stopgap. So I'm very much looking forward to showing them off for you. And bigger tits and hips are covered. So if you enjoy custom audio, if you enjoy femdom content, check out my Fansly. Check out my Twitch for comfy, cozy stuff. And check out Atra's stuff as well, because he's fucking amazing. And I've loved doing this podcast with him. Huh?
He's amazing.
Me.
I didn't agree to that. Who is amazing, VT?
I have frigging loved doing this podcast with you, and yeah, check out Atra's stuff because he's amazing.
Thank you kindly. And I've been your host, Atramentum_X, Rice Streamer and Loottuber. You can find all my links on Atramentum.inc. That's Atramentum.ink. I stream almost every day here on Twitch or on Fansly. Tomorrow I'll be on Fansly playing Jackbox. The Depths will return in technically 2 weeks, although we are having a special episode on Fansly next week as well, where we're bringing back some previous guests to answer some relationship questions. Take a deep breath on the Depths After Dark. But I'm going to leave you all off tonight with a preview of our next episode happening on October 25th. Have a wonderful night and stay safe, everybody.
Cheers. Hey,
That's the wrong video.
You also need to take Johnny's thing off because it's obscuring it.
There we go.
Yeah.